Who is Randy Goldson? Well, Randy's a 2006 Manning School graduate. He has a PhD in theology, so say you know about God, and he's a practicing lawyer. But at the first me meet Randy, so let's get together and get to know him. And as always, please like, subscribe, and send to a friend. Let's keep the numbers building. I know that it's hard for you to find the subscribe button, but if cognitively you're not there, get a youngster to help you out. Take it easy. Let's meet Randy. Hi, this is Roger Smith, and today I'm speaking to Dr. Randy Goldson, a 2006 Manning's graduate. Randy, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, Roger. Thanks for having me on.
No worries, no worries. So let's start with this. The Dr. Monica has to be pretty new because you're a young fellow, a 2006 graduate. Are you getting used to it? Do you want me to use it, or we can call you Randy?
Randy is just fine. The title has been around since 2020, but
Okay.
people call me Randy, and I'm cool with that.
And where me and you come from, Randy, people here say a doctor and show you and so forth, so you're careful. All right, so Randy, what part of Westmoreland are you from, sir?
Little London,
Little
so
London. Beer Road?
that not Bay Road, but Station Road.
Station
So
Road.
you're coming from South Bay Road, you come to Little London Square, you keep going towards Negril, and then you hit Station Road, then Mango Hall.
Okay. Nice. All right, so you went to Little London Primary, yeah?
That is correct. Best primary school in Westmoreland.
Dr. Binzi Roy Davidson told me that, actually.
Okay, so it has to be true then.
All right, you know him?
I do. I've not met him personally, but I know of him, and I also watched his interview with you
Nice.
on True to Lounge.
Okay, the best thing, so a whole heap of doctor come out of Little London. I didn't know that, so that's
So
good
it
to know.
seems. So it seems.
Yep. So, cognitively, this is how this works for me, Randy. I like to talk to people and just, if I met you in an airport, what we'd talk about when we hear say you went to Manning School. I'm really grateful you gave me the time to speak to you. And this is all about, having some fun, seeing how normal you are. But
All
cognitively,
right.
I have to test you out first. So in your first form at school, name me about 5 guys, 5 girls that come to you in your first form.
Okay, so I was in one Indigo. I had O'Shane Foote, Elmore Jemison, Andre White. There was a fellow named Mario Satchwell. There was Ashley Grant, and many others that I can name
Name some
quite
girls
easily.
now.
There's Kerrian Barrett, there was Kerry K. Clark, there was Jodie Cooks, there was Judine Fletcher, there was Sade Reed, you had Sasha Gay Watkins. Yeah.
All right, you know what? At least me know see your brain's still operating at a nice level. So that's good. So, are you a Mac guy or an iPhone guy or Windows, Android?
So I do have an iPhone, but I'm a Windows person.
Okay.
The iPhone thing came recently, and I just kind of, once Apple gets it, they kind of suck you in. I'm not with a MacBook yet, but I know eventually that might happen.
Okay. Um, a day in Manning's when things was really tight for your lunchtime, or did you come, or if you're not independently wealthy, what would be a nice poor lunch for you at Manning's be?
Um, I mean, was there anything cheap there? Let's see. So I usually have cocoa bread and cheese or bun and cheese most times, and I also eat at the canteen quite a bit. But yeah, cocoa bread and cheese, bun and cheese was my thing.
Okay. So before I get into all the fun, Randy, let's do this. Talk me through 2006 graduation to where Dr. Randy Goldson is now, and just tell me about the bumps and bruises that you went through to get where you are, sir.
So after graduation from fifth form in 2006, I went back to sixth form, did 2 years, left 2008, went to Northern Caribbean University, NCU in Mandeville, with the intention of becoming a pastor. So I studied religion there. Somewhere along the way, I met a professor who inspired me to become a professor of religion. So after graduating from NCU, I went back to Manning's and I taught at Manning's for a year, taught biology, integrated science, agricultural science. And then I left there in 2013, went to Yale Divinity School to do my master's in religion. And from there, I went to Temple University in Philadelphia, did my Doctor of Philosophy degree in religion, stayed there for quite a bit, taught at Temple as an adjunct faculty. Then I did law school there. So I got my JD in 2024 and working now as an attorney.
All right. So, and you're not an attorney for the Lord. You're an attorney, yeah?
Attorney for the Lord and a real attorney too.
All right, all right. We're gonna have some fun, obviously. Hey, when you're eating some food, Randy, and you're in Jamaica, what is your food of choice?
I love fried chicken, but I don't like fried chicken from KFC. I like fried chicken from a cook shop, like you know, so fried chicken and rice and peas, and you know, I think that's kind of my main thing. I'll eat that all the time. Love oxtail, love curry goat, but really fried chicken and rice and peas is my thing.
And in the United States, wherein you may not get a lot of that, what do you eat?
So I'm in New York
Oh,
now, and
okay.
they're everywhere. There's a lot of Jamaican restaurants, but most times I cook most of the times. So you know, I eat a lot of fish now, and occasionally I don't really fry chicken at home because that's using too much oil. But curry chicken, I make that on a regular too.
Okay, okay. So, Randy, when you're looking for a significant other, you're looking for a partner or someone to nurture and make sure your home is peaceful.
So I have a wonderful significant other. I've been married for 9 years. A wonderful partner. Uh, Great support all around. So to your question, is both and more. Nurture, partner, lover, everything.
Equality between you two.
Absolutely.
So if bad man I kick down the door 3 o'clock in the morning, who's going to respond? Both on her?
Depends who wake up.
Oh, hey,
I think
hey, at least
each
you
of
really know.
us,
At least you really know. Hey,
I think each
authenticity are
of us
what we are dealing
equipped.
with.
I think each of us equipped to handle somebody trying to break in the door.
All right, all right. Well, hey, that told me. That told me. Randy, tell me about a job that you've done that you didn't like at all.
Uh, um, there've been quite a few, but one in
Worst one,
particular,
worst one.
I worked at a nonprofit where the job, the function at the time was to supervise staff who are providing support for people with disabilities, which means I was always on call. So any time of the night something go wrong, either the person is calling me or the staff is calling. I hated it. I hated being always feel like I'm on edge. Always have to pick up the phone. I didn't like it at all. I think that was probably one of the worst jobs I had in terms of like the demand of the time demand. It was a wonderful place to work at and wonderful people, but just couldn't manage the stress of like always being on call.
So, how did you overcome that? Or you just made sure you got out when you needed to?
I left.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
When you're down in the dumps, how do you get yourself up?
Um, I tap into my spirituality a lot through prayer, reading the Bible, and just listening to good music. And also, a big factor for me is I have a very close knitted group of friends. So, you know, always chatting with them, you know, just being encouraged by them. That's how I kind of get into when I'm in a funk, get over it. Those are my resources that I tap into.
And when you've been at your lowest on the floor, same kind of stuff you use?
Same kind of stuff. Praying, reasoning with God, uh, just listening to music, and try to be around my friends. I like being around people. It doesn't matter how bad my situation is in terms of like emotionally down. Like being around people lift me up a lot.
Okay. One of my questions is always to ask people if they're religious and how does religion help them in their life. But you beat me to it. But I don't know nothing still. We're gonna go through it. So you've always been a Christian?
Yes. I grew up with a Christian grandmother. I started going to the Seventh Day Adventist Church very young, got baptized fairly young as well, and so I grew up as a Seventh Day Adventist Christian.
And and when I look at you and you look at me and you look up in the sky and you say it's blue and I say it's green, do you actually appreciate the fact that not everybody may see the God that you speak about or or the person you pray to?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, even before I studied religion as and have a scholarly view of it, I always appreciated the differences in doctrine, in opinion, in people's understanding and relationship to a divine being. You know, I appreciate that I have a very particular understanding of who God is, or who I consider God to be, or religiosity, spirituality, and I make space for others to express their own views, which mean that they can believe in a divine being or not believe in a divine being. And I think both are equally valid.
Okay. So why do you think that a lot of Caribbean people and Africans don't like when people ask questions about religion?
Well, religion, like politics and sports, is very divisive because it's so deep and personal. So to get to tenets, or to question um, the constructs of a particular religion is tantamount to questioning somebody's identity and individuality. It's that deep. It's so personal that people cannot separate to the theological or the academic or the theoretical from the personal. So to say something like, well, God didn't create the world in 7 days. It was an evolutionary process. A man here that he's thinking that you think he's an idiot for believing that someone actually created the world in 7 days, and it becomes very, very, very personal, and that's why people don't like to talk about it. But Caribbean and African people equally like to evangelize, so that's interesting. So it's a one-way conversation. I can bring you over, but don't ask me any question about my faith because it's so personal.
You have a nice, mature attitude towards it because a man like me very lazy. So if I'm talking to you about life or you tell me about a dusty book that need to look in with a lot of stories in there that no one can verify, and you're telling me, say, that is it.
Hmm.
We have a space in our communication, you know. So it's important. So what makes your faith so strong, Randy?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's constant reiteration of the thing. It will sound like kind of an argument in a box, right? But you grow up in it and you repeat it so much that it becomes a part of you that it's very hard to kind of like throw it away. It's constant repetition of it, it's constant reiteration of it that strengthens it. And I think somehow I don't know if that I've had a faith shattering experience yet to this point. I've had very difficult experiences, including death of loved ones, and disappointments, things I wanted that I didn't get. But they haven't reached a point where I'd say it shattered my faith that I would not believe that, you know, there is a God or that there are spiritual resources out there that can help you to cope and to live in a meaningful and flourishing way. So I think, it also has to do with the faith community, right? To being part of a community. So all my closest friends are tied to that community. These are a bunch of people I've met through church, at church, remain friends, and that binds us. So there's also the social component to it, because we can talk about religion and faith as a spiritual thing, but it's also social and psychological thing. And so when your social circle is kind of tied in to that reality, it's it kind of just lends itself to you just believing in this thing, in this construct. And that's kind of the reality for me. Maybe if I have an experience that shatters that reality, destroys it, I might not have the kind of faith that I have now, this strong belief. And that can happen. Many strong believers in whatever religion and can give it up after they have a moment of like an experience that just throws them out the loop. And we call that kind of cognitive dissonance, when your expectation and the reality don't align, and then there's this gap that happened because what you expected the divine to do, he didn't do it, or she didn't do it, or it didn't do it. So you have that life shattering moment and throwing faith out the window.
Randy, does your significant other believe in the religious stories and aligned with your faith?
Yes, we are, and that's a thing that really attracted us to each other. Even there was physical attraction, obviously, because my wife is beautiful, but there was intellectual
Say, hey,
attraction.
Randy, say that again so she hears it, because
My wife is amazing and beautiful. She's
see
in the
there,
kitchen
see
now,
there,
so I
see
hope to
there.
hear it.
Nice.
So, so it was also the intellectual attraction, right? We were in the same Sabbath school class at my church in Connecticut, and that's how we started out as friends, and would go at it. Sharp disagreement about ideas of interpretation of the faith and the text, the Bible, but we were in complete alignment with the bigger picture of like understanding what religion is, right? We both had the same understanding for what it is, and we see it as one of the many constructs in life that give conceptual order to how people live, because that's what religion does. It gives a particular order in the same way politics does that, and other aspects of society. It's a construct that gives you order. So we were in alignment with that, and we have many similar interpretations of the text. So yes, she believes in religion in the way I do, and interprets it in the same way I do.
Okay. Just to give you a little bit of real life.
Mm-hmm.
I think about 10 years ago, my wife was kneeled down at the bedside praying.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at her and I said, sweetheart, I don't know who you're talking to, but we're not getting any younger. And if you keep on doing this, I'm not going to get you up off them knees. I just want you to know that I'm sure whoever you're praying to, if you lie down by your back and murmur them words, he will hear you too. So I just thought I'd let you know that. So is your wife an intellect like you are?
More intellectual than I am.
Was that necessary in you choosing a partner?
I needed someone who was at least an intellectual equal,
Okay.
and
Of the
you
same
know,
yoke as you guys in the church, in the cloth say.
yeah,
Equally yoked.
equal. There you go. There you go. So
Okay.
yeah, I needed that kind of compatibility, because in reality, it's not just for your own discussions at the table and conversation, but intellectual equal in terms of how we're gonna make decisions or processes have to align in terms of decision making, and also for her to have an appreciation of the things I want to pursue intellectually and career wise,
Okay.
and that was important for me. And I found someone who's not just an equal, but even a superior intellect.
Yeah, I get a whole heap of points from the way you style the thing, But let
Listen,
me ask
man,
you this
she I don't
much.
watch the interview, so I have to make sure some do the right thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So if I was to say to you, when you read the stories of the Bible, like Jonah in the fish belly for 7 days and Noah putting all them animals together and none of them never eat each other and nobody never shovel off the excrement and all them thing there. As a PhD Bible man, how do you wrap your head around things like that?
So, I mean, these are stories of faith, right? And these stories serve a pedagogical and a faith forming function. That's the first thing we have to recognize. Um, you know, every detail in the Bible is not meant to be taken in its literal sense, right? And where we go for literal interpretation and meaning. So I'm not necessarily here saying it's an allegory or anything. I'm saying all the stories have a point that they're making. Takeaway. That's why they're in the canon. That's why someone thought about what the stories that they want to put together. Because it's not just like happen out of thin air. People sat down and pick and choose what they want to go into the canon. So they did that, and they served a faith forming function. With these stories, we could say they're miracles, and miracles are just things that we can't explain. They're extraordinary in the realm of the divine. So that's one approach you could take. That it's a miracle because under normal circumstances, it cannot happen. There's no way. You can't fit all the species of animals on the size of the ark that is described in the Bible. Not possible. So we consider it as a miracle. Or we find some other explanation if we want it to be as literal as we want it to be, to make it so. To say, well, the number of species of, that you're going to take 2 of a kind were not as many as we have today. That's one way to do it. But I don't get bogged down with, fighting over whether it's literal or not literal, real or not real. I read it as a story, and from that, I'm going to extract a meaning about the nature of God and the nature of God and how God interacts with human beings. That's my takeaway. The fight can't be over is it real or not real. I don't think that needs to be the fight.
Okay. For me, the complexities of life itself
Mhm.
is so far superior than what I believe man can put together, especially ancient man too. You know what I mean? Who may have been incapable of even producing tools that they needed to survive. But I don't know right or wrong. I'm asking you because I'm trying to get to know you. So let me ask you this much. When we die, Randy, what do you think happens to us?
So we cease to exist. We all can agree on that. You know, your body, whatever, if you bury it, it will decompose. If you burn it, um, its ash, eventually that too will be incorporated into the earth. But there is the breath of life that God, at least in my theological view, the breath of life that God breathed into each of us that made us a living being or a living soul, that breath returns to God, right? That's a thing that when it departs the physical entity, you have the cessation of life, right? Whether you want to associate it with the breathing process of oxygen and carbon dioxide being exchanged, if you want to associate, that's fine. If you want to put it in those biological terms, but that thing that makes us a living being or a living soul returns to God, right? And that's it. There is no spirit that roams, at least not in I mean, there are religious traditions that believe that, and many African derived religious traditions believe that there is a thing that leaves, the spirit that roams, or goes into the realm of the ancestors. In my Christian construct, I don't believe that, but I do appreciate other traditions that see that as a reality, that there is a spirit that is left behind.
You know, Randy, you're a special case because you study this to a level that I couldn't imagine being that much interested about to read about. But you're talking about someone blowing breath into 8 billion humans,
Hmm.
100 billion humans before us, not to mention all the animals. What's it
Yes.
all about and why do we have to care?
Why do we have to care about that act of?
I'm just here, Randy. I'm here enjoying myself, trying to be
Uh,
good, be better than the guy I was yesterday.
yeah.
Why do I need to be, chanting to some dude that knows what I'm chanting about and what I need anyway? What's the ritual all about?
Okay, so in the Christian tradition, and when you read the Book of Psalms, um, there is this constant refrain about the reason we do the kind of ritualistic worship we do is to express our gratitude for our existence and part of the world in which we inhabit, right? So it's not so much so, you know, that we're the benefit of doing it is to show gratitude. Really, that's kind of what I think it's all about, to show gratitude for our existence in the
But
world.
isn't this all knowing, all loving guy supposed to know that we're grateful anyway?
And I think God knows that, right? But
Just wants you
regardless
to
of,
beg. It just wants you to beg and show him
I
even
mean,
further.
no. So that's the other thing. Like all the ritual, and that's the thing people get caught up on. Some people just constantly beg in their religious practice, right? The practice is to beg God for something. But I don't think the point is always to be begging God. I think it's to thank God that you're alive. Thank
Okay.
God for the everyday mercies, right? But, and I can also give an academic sociological answer, which is the ritual keeps God alive. That's what people like Weber and Durkheim and all them guys would say. It's really to keep God
Sorry, you
alive.
just named a couple of people. Are those from books you read, sir?
Yeah, those are some old white men, sociologists from the
Tell
1800s.
us the names again without assuming that everyone's as well read as you, Sir
Okay,
Randy
I,
Goldson.
I apologize. So, they're these sociologists of religion. They're really sociologists. Emil Durkheim, he's one of them who really put forward ideas, very Eurocentric ideas about religion. And for him, one of the points is that we make up God, we human beings. We make up God. That's one of the fundamental elements of society. And so the rituals we do, the worship, that is to keep this thing we made up alive. That's how he would do it. And then Max Weber, um, he has other ideas about this as well in terms of the constructedness of the deity, of the divine, and how we as a society kind of start to, keep this idea alive, of course, for capitalistic exploitations and that kind of thing. But my point is not really theirs. That would be an academic answer. My point is we do the rituals to show that we're grateful for our existence.
Okay. So tell me something, Randy. Do you get the opportunity to talk a lot of patois, being as well learned as you are?
Come on.
You can
Every
play
day.
You can play domino.
I can, yes.
Do
But we
you?
only have one domino partner, right? That them are Felix Ferrand. So anytime we are go play domino, him have to be partners. They have to come from wherever and be. Or else me not play. Because
And
we can read each other well.
and on a code, ya code, I read, ya read.
No, we're not good. We read.
Do you have the ability to use other expressions in your vocabulary, like cuss to clot every now and again, or is that beneath you?
It's not beneath me, but I try not to swear.
Okay. If you call it swearing. Let me ask you this much. So, coming from Little London Primary to be a PhD student is a lot of studying, and obviously shows academically how brilliant you are. Are there any man in school mentors or mentors that you had in your life that you would say, hey, when I was on the ragged edge, this guy put me back on the track and says, believe in yourself? Is there anybody? Does Mannings have any credit in how brilliant you are?
Manning's Mango Hall Basic School, Little London Primary School, Manning School, yes. All my teachers played an integral role in my development. With respect to going into religion itself, and this is kind of a church school combo because a couple of my teachers from Manning's were also church members. So my music teacher from first and second form, who was my master guide instructor, Kiffer Davis, was one of the people who was integral in kind of pushing me along this path to pursue religion, to become a pastor. So I give him a lot of credit. Overall, to my academic development, just as a person, as a student going through Manning's, a number of teachers. Mrs. Hollery is one of my first and second form teacher. My geography teacher in fifth form, Miss Reed, and my geography teacher in sixth form, Miss White, were also very impactful in terms of like helping to build that confidence and to just pursue knowledge. And of course, one of my big influence, again, this is a church school combo, was Mr. Blythe. He's no longer at Manning's. He's a principal now at Sav High, but he was the school challenge quiz coach, and he was very involved in my development.
Cool. So Randy, tell me this. As far as Manning School are you surprised that so many people went to Manning's and done academically well? And what do you think
Not,
is about the school that created that, or is it maybe just a Jamaican high school thing that I'm attributing to Manning's?
no, it's a systemic thing, and let me explain it. So there's a funneling that happens in the Jamaican education system, as we know. The students coming from primary school who end up at schools like Manning's and other traditional high schools would be the ones who have done exceptionally well in their exit exams at the primary school level. So what you have when you get to Manning's, for the most part, is the brightest students in Westmoreland who are there, whose confidence is boosted by the fact that they're going to a traditional high school. And so I'm looking for a term to describe what the effect is. But it's just self-perpetuating in the sense that you bring the brightest students from all the primary schools, who, and brightest I mean really the students who did excellently on their exam, the ones who passed with high marks. And you bring them all to Manning's, you're boosting their confidence because they're at this great traditional high school. So that effect is what propels Manning students to go on to do excellently, right? And the funneling continues because then you bring the bright set to sixth form again, and from that class, the majority are going to go to university. So that's kind of how that effect works. So yes, Manning's, the teachers are great. There are resources on this at the school that help students to do well overall. But if you're doing it a comparative thing, why the students at Manning's versus another school in Westmoreland, that is the reason. It's just how the system constructed.
With Melissa blowing through her wrath through Westmoreland, has it affected a lot of your family, and how are you coping with it? I know you're not one without water and roof, but a lot of people don't understand how much it affects people outside Jamaica, even though you're not feeling the lack of water, lack of hope and all them things there, but you still want to help. How are you coping with Wagwan?
So in terms of damage to, yes, all my family members in Little London have been impacted to varying degrees. And my paternal grandfather's house, the roof, where I grew up, some roof damage. Windows were blown out, so the things in the house got wet and damaged. My maternal grandmother lives in Black River, and her house, the hurricane did a number on it. She lost most of the roof and just widespread destruction of her things on the inside. And different cousins and so forth and so on have lost roof. In terms of the impact, they and it's funny because I was speaking to a friend earlier about guarding against feeling guilty because we're not there to be a part of it, or we can't do more to fix what is going on. So for me, it in the days after and seeing all the images on social media and seeing places that I know well that were unrecognizable, it really shook me a little bit. Well, a lot actually. I felt like, oh gosh, like all these people there, no, they don't have roof, water, light, and I am in comfort, right? And the impulse is, all right, I'm going to send money for this person, that person, that person. Should I be donating to this or that? Should I be packing barrel and sending as well? And, it's kind of that just a feeling that I need to do something, which itself good in some respect, but bad in the sense that it lends itself to guilt. So I had to get a grip on my own self and say, look, what's going to happen? What's happening in Jamaica is not going to be fixed in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a year. This is a long-term thing, and there will be opportunities to help at every turn. So right now, it's like, do what you can, no matter how small, and over time, there'll be other opportunities to help. So, I feel a way about the situation. Put it that way, feel a way about it because, I am here. I'm okay. I have a roof over my head, but there are people I know who do not.
Same. Um, Tell me this much: as a Jamaican in New York, you see all the organizations going on. You see people putting all these barrels. What I look at to myself is I see all these people traveling from Kingston all the way to the country, and I'm
Yeah, yeah.
thinking, you guys don't need to be on the road clogging up already clogged up roads. Why isn't there a place you could just drop off something at Kingston and make the big trucks that can carry the masses of, it just sounds stupid. You have two fan and two bulla and two bully beef and two slice of bread. You're gonna take up a whole road space. I just can't understand what's going on there.
So I had some critique of it initially, especially with people feeling the need to post it on social media as they're doing it. And I was like, do you have to post? Do what you do. All these influencers run into the country to do. But then I backed up and I said, look, the need is great. It's tremendous right now. So even though I might be annoyed about the manner in which this aid is being provided, it's needed. So if them are gonna back up a road to bring a bag of bulla, well, somebody needed that bulla, so that's fine. Like I just said, you know what, this is the immediate aftermath. We don't have, people just want to help, just let them help how they can in the manner they want, and just let the chips fall where they may.
Randy, as the cynical person that I am, I was looking at the situation and I'm saying to myself, boy, there's a lot of people posting what them do. The Dr. Randy Goldson Foundation, the this foundation and that foundation. And I says, whatever happened to when people were classy and gave anonymously?
Yeah.
And guess what? Some cold water hit me in my face. Jamaicans have a nasty habit of telling you, say the Dr. Randy Goldson Foundation rob up their money. So guess what they have to do? They have to go online just because of the way Uno steer and say, see where the Zelle money go, see where everything go, because nobody wants to be casted in that light, So I figured that's what's going on.
Yeah, and that's true. And another aspect to it, I appreciate that the more visibility on social media there is to the situation, it's a more likely help from the outside will come. Other organizations, international organizations, other countries will help. So the visibility is also important because, as you know, there was a lot of contention about certain parishes and certain communities not getting aid or being highlighted in terms of the damage, extent of the damage. So when it just happened, we heard a lot about Black River and St. Elizabeth. And then people in Westmoreland was like, what the heck? What, you see what happened to us? And it was social media and the posting and people bringing attention to it. And then Hanover start and St. James start. And now we hear more about Trelawney. So, yes, the posting, even of giving the aid, is important because it's magnifying the situation. And, we know how the algorithms work on social media too. So that's another thing.
Randy, if you were to go back to a 15, 16-year-old young Mr. Goldson or play marbles or play with your gig, I just said gig and marbles thinking that you're a real countryman, but probably you're reading philosophy books at the time. What would you go back and tell yourself? What would you go back and tell yourself, sir?
Take it easy. I was very active, too active. I was doing this at church. I was doing this in the community. I was doing this at school. And, it's like, I don't know what was the real reason for doing all those things. I was hardly at home, I was in church most evenings doing, whether we have youth fellowship and going to Pathfinder or that kind of thing. And at school, all these extracurricular activities. Take it easy. And one of the big things, I tell myself, like, coming out of third form, going into fourth form, I should have been more eclectic in terms of like what I was going to choose because I had no idea what I really wanted to do as a career.
Randy, you can't use word like eclectic and all them something there, because guess what? People have got Google. Rewind and come again.
Rewind and come again. I should have been more open to exploring different things and picking and choosing a variety of things going into fourth form rather than just picking the sciences.
Did you do
Because,
sports at school?
I did not do sports. Some of the
And no one encouraged you
debating,
to do sports?
no.
Wow.
I wasn't, I'm not an athletic person.
Well,
Never have.
you don't know that if you don't run on the field, you don't know that.
No. Yeah, I think PE tell you everything you need to know. It's like when in the PE first, second, and third form. I mean, I did get invited to play in the junior volleyball team in third form, and I go to the trainings for a couple of evenings, and I'm like, why the heck am I here until 6:30, 7 p.m.? No, I need to go home. So I stopped going.
Wow. What do you do in your spare time now?
I hardly have spare time, to be honest with you, but I do find time for reading. I'm part of a book club, and I try to read as much, and not so much that I'm interested in the book, but for the company to have conversation with the folks who come on the Zoom for the book club. I do work very long hours currently. So the spare time is I come home. If I don't have book club on a Monday, I'm just gonna watch some TV, watch a good series on Netflix, and then that's it.
So, Randy, did you do an LLB and then an LLM?
No, I did a JD. So I did law school in the US. So
So you're
no.
going to explain to me the differences, why I have those terminologies in my mind and how
So
wrong they are?
LLB is a British-based first degree in law. So in the Caribbean, England, Canada, that's what people do with the LLB.
Okay.
The US used to have the LLB, but they cut it out many years ago and just offer the JD. So you do need a first degree to go into law school here in the US.
Okay. Cool. When you think of the future, Randy, are you hopeful?
I don't. I'm not hopeful, but I'm also not hopeful. Like I'm indifferent to the future. It is what it is. I'm doing what I'm doing. I have goals and ambitions and dreams, and I'm pursuing those. I don't think like the world is coming to an end like in a in a blaze of fire like tomorrow, where I should say, oh my God, like I can't live. I don't want to live past the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, because it's going to be so terrible. The world is terrible at present, right? And I'm living. And so I just continue to live. So it's not that I'm hopeful or somewhat cynical or anything like that. It's just what it is. I'm agnostic in terms of the future.
Okay. And my last couple of questions for you is, do you believe in the rapture and all what go on in a Revelation, the second coming and all them thing there?
So rapture, no. Second coming, yes. And maybe
second coming of what? And second coming of who?
Second coming of Jesus Christ, yes. And why I said no to rapture, because people have a particular understanding of rapture being, people get snuck off into hell. So you and your friend stand up there and the friend gone. You look around, friend gone, and you're still standing. Like, I don't believe in any secret rapture. Rapture, the only type of rapture I think would be when Jesus come, the sky bursts open and Jesus come in.
And
That's the only.
And you think that's a possibility?
That is a possibility. I do believe it's a possibility.
Wow. Wow, Randy. You're deep to even feel as that's a possibility. Let me ask you this much. Those books behind you, are they fake books or are they real books?
Oh, they are very much real. These are.
And that's your man in are your man in sixth form tie them there?
So this is my original sixth form tie. This is the one I had in sixth form. This one I got the other day when I was the guest speaker at the graduation ceremony. I got this as a gift.
Okay.
There's a third one that belonged to my uncle. It's somewhere around.
My last question for you, Randy. Who does all the cooking in the house?
So currently, my wife is doing a lot of the cooking. But
Quite
historically,
rightly so, someone might add. Not me, but some might say quite rightly so.
someone, not me either. Historically, though, I've done the cooking, like 90% of the cooking, and
Are we
she will
talk when you
cook for.
talk about cooking? It's Sunday today. We're talking about greater coconut cooking or real,
Yeah, man. No, like real cooking.
Okay,
Rice and peas cooking, oxtail cooking, curry goat
nice,
cooking,
nice, nice.
fish cooking, that kind of thing.
Hey Randy, I'm glad that you are able to be authentic and come on my little show. I'm glad I feel I've got to know you. I will say this much in my mind. There's a lot to say about people that do sports in school, but it's nice to
Hmm.
see that you're still very well rounded, even though you didn't do sports at school. But I saw it go, you know. But
What about the people who do sports? What the special thing about them?
I think the camaraderie that
Okay.
people that do sports at school makes them have a thicker skin because when you do sports at school, a whole lot of people that criticize you. If you get a
Yeah.
salad on a football field, people remember it all when you're 70,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, well,
The
well,
teasing,
okay, okay.
the teasing you get playing sports because it's you make yourself vulnerable, so.
So I think the true line then is competition. And I was always doing competitive things, whether being on the quiz team, school challenge quiz team, and we lost a lot, or on the debating team, or going to speech and drama festival. So yeah, I was always competing in something. So the same
Academic
thing.
guru. That's you. Oh, so you weren't doing the cane farmer sports. No cricket for you. The debate
No,
team. All
no
right.
cricket, debating and quiz team. Yes.
So who in your family was the person pushing you?
I think everyone. I grew up with country families are it's extended. I lost my mother very young. I was 9 when she died, so I grew up with her mother and sisters. My aunts and a lot of the uncles and cousins around. So, but the main person responsible for me was my grandmother, and I think though they themselves, my grandmother and those people I grew up with, didn't have more than a high school education. They understood the importance of education and ensure that we take up my book at evening time and study. So they were the ones really pushed me to take my work seriously.
That's really nice. Really nice. Really nice. Hey, I'm appreciative that you were able to come on and talk to me and allow yourself to be a little bit vulnerable. Do you drink alcohol now?
Nah, I may have dabbled, but I'm not a drinker of alcohol per se.
Yeah. Have you ever smoked?
No.
No, no,
No,
no. Nobody, no, no,
no,
nobody's watching, Randy. No
no, no,
one's
no.
watching.
I have to think about it. No, I've never smoked. No,
Mushrooms? Any psychedelics? No.
no.
Wow, you
And
have lived.
so here's the thing with smoking. Here's the thing with smoking. Like I protect my brain so much. That's the one thing I worry about. And God forbid, maybe it's a thing that goes first as I age. But like, I love my brain, so I've never been curious to do it. I mean, I remember when I was young, my mother smoked marijuana, and and this was common. They hold the kids down and blow the
Why, why,
marijuana.
why you think you done so well? You don't figure it out. You don't figure it out.
But yeah, I've my research. I for my PhD I studied Rastafari, so I've gone to a lot of Rastafari events, and when they're sipping, I never sip with them. I was like, no, I I guess that's the one thing I'm afraid of. So I've never really got there.
Have you ever been inebriated?
By what?
Anything? Have you ever been drunk?
I think I've been drunk before.
You see, all you,
Yeah.
I hold back for me, you know, but I know
Yeah.
nothing still. Hey,
As I
Randy.
say, I'm not a drinker, but I definitely have dabbled before.
Randy, I really appreciate you taking the time to open up and make me see what I want, you know. It was really nice getting to speak to you. I I'm I was really, you know, when I poked around and I saw that you studied theology, in my mind I was thinking, how deep is it? But I'm glad the way you represented yourself because, you know, sometimes some people draw a line and it's life is black and white to them. And by talking to you, I still think there's room for interpretation either way. You're not
Yeah,
you're not, it's not a solid line for you, and not that it should be or shouldn't be, but you're open to more information if more information was to come.
absolutely, absolutely.
Seeing. All right, my brother, respect and thank you very much.
Yes, Roger. Thanks for having me on. It was great talking with you this
And I hope
afternoon.
the effects of Melissa dampens every day and Jamaicans get a little bit of ease because boy, we are feel it.
Yes, yes. And just encourage people to continue doing what they can, because again, the need is extremely great, and the recovery is not going to be overnight. We're looking at months, even if not years, to
Definitely
really
years.
fully recover.
Yeah man, yeah man. All right, thank you, Randy. Take it easy.
All right, Roger. Cool.